Talking about the different levels of tariqah or the Islam, and that's where we left it last night with them. That our tariqah or the Islam is the religion of dynamism, or is a progressive religion. And the examples that we were using was a child. When child is born, we see that how the child just sits in one corner for a day or two, which is an example of a mineral soul. And then he or she starts drinking the mother's milk and receives the second soul, which is a vegetative soul, and then they grow. And that is a symbol of their vegetative soul is working. And when I say vegetative soul is working, we will come back to that in a minute. Meaning sometimes it doesn't work. And then they receive the third soul, which is the animal soul. And that happened after 2-3 weeks of their being born. And with the animal soul, they receive the instinct. So when you go close to them, or when you make a loud sound, or certain moment, they fidget. Because that is the animal soul is working in them. So I'm going to come back to that. What does it mean animal soul is working in them? We see some child, when they are born, and then all of a sudden they die. Because they do not receive the other souls. The other soul just does not come to them. Now there's a different question. Why would a child be born for a day or two or week, and then all of a sudden they leave this world? That's a different question. That's a good question to ask later on. So if a child receives a vegetative soul, but it doesn't work fully, then they do not grow fully. And we see children like that also, that they grow but not as much as they're supposed to grow. It just doesn't work. The example of that, if you look at outside, we have a plant. Some plant grows little, some grows higher. Trees, same way. Some grows, some doesn't grow. In the nature, whatever we see in nature is within us actually. So everything was created for the human to see and to learn. Everything around us. Doesn't matter if it's a mineral or vegetative or the animal or even the human kingdom. Within the human kingdom, meaning the last or not the last, fourth soul that the child received is the rational soul, and that soul sometimes comes after 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years. A child could be 8-year-old, or could be 12-year-old, or sometime even later, when he receives that rational soul, and then he can tell this is right and this is wrong. Up until that point, they use the animal instinct to say, hey, this is dangerous, I don't want to do this. And that's all they have. They don't have a rational soul yet. They cannot rationalize why. Above the rationalize is the soul, which is called, we call it human soul, but it is the Ruh Qudus that comes in them. That particular soul, one does not receive until he goes through some kind of meditation, some kind of practice of ibadat and ismi azam, and then Imam is merciful on them, and then they receive the Ruh Qudus. But in between that, once you have the rational soul, and if rational soul is working perfectly, and again we can tell sometimes our rational soul does not work perfectly. Sometimes we cannot rationalize things. We cannot tell if this is right or wrong, or if it is on a gray line. But we keep making mistakes, meaning our rational soul is not working that good. We keep doing the wrong thing because we cannot rationalize this is right or wrong. And the reason I wanted to bring these three things, the vegetative soul, the animal soul, and the rational soul. Because with the mineral soul, our body was made in the mother's womb, and body was perfect and was born. But sometimes even that is not perfect, and the child is not born perfectly the way it's supposed to be born. But this three soul right there, the vegetative soul. So what is the difference between mineral soul and vegetative soul? So we're going to do a comparison there. When we look outside, we see the dust and the rocks and everything that we can tell that they are steel, but it still have a soul in it. Even a dust, a particle of a dust have a soul, a particle. And if you want to see that, you should read the memoirs of Aga Khan, especially that part, Mere Moruso ka
Chapter 8.
Chapter 8. Chapter 8. Sultan Muhammad Shah talks about it, how every single thing has a soul, even the mineral. How come we don't see the soul in the mineral? It's frozen soul, sleeping soul, or the Munjamid, which is frozen, Kabinda, that's the one. Half sleeping soul. And because of that, they don't do anything, they don't grow, nothing is happening. But then, within the rocks, sometimes if their soul becomes alive, the mineral soul I'm talking about, then those rocks turns into gems, like a ruby and a pearl and diamond. And the reason a rock will turn into a gem because their soul that was sleeping or frozen became alive. Now, second question I'm going to ask you, if you wanted to ask, when and how a soul will become alive in the mineral soul. Now coming to the vegetative soul. And we see in vegetative soul, there's a growth. There's no movement, but there's a growth. And that is the soul the human uses to grow. And then we see even in vegetative soul, they come alive and they die. And then they become alive again and they die. What is the example of that? A tree in a winter time and a tree in a summertime. So it goes through the 4 seasons. In the fall, they all fall out. And winter time, they're just frozen. Springtime comes, they start to give the branches again, and the seed comes again, nice and green, and the flower comes back, and then it goes through the circle. So it's in 4 circle. We are also in the same way. Remember, we are learning from the nature. We are in the same way. Sometimes we go to Jamasana and we feel so much peace and love and just happiness. Then next day we go to Jamasana, we don't feel anything. Then we go to Ibadat one day and you have all these beautiful experiences. Next day you go and there's nothing. So we go through spring and fall or winter. So if there is a winter in your heart, then nothing is going to come out of it. But if there's a spring in your heart, then you will feel the experiences. So how do we bring spring in our heart? So let's take the example of the trees again. The soil around the tree, if the soil is just a rock and hard, the tree will not be able to grow, will not be able to breathe. And even if the soil is good, if there's no water, tree will not be able to grow or breathe. So what does it require? Soft soil, a good soil, and the water. Now that's the example of Ismi Azam now. A person, and I'm talking about just Ismailis now. Ismi Azam is the seed, and if you have the seed that you receive from the Imam, we call it ball, and you put the seed in the ground, the soil is not good, your heart is not good. What's going to happen to the seed? Nothing. The Ismi Azam will not work for you because the ground that you are putting it in is not good. Let's say your heart is good and you have received the ball, seed, and you put it in your heart. It's good, but you have no water. You have no water. It's still not going to work. So what is this water we are talking about here? Water could be of the Griya-Zari. Water could be of the knowledge.
True knowledge.
Of the true knowledge. If you don't have those two kind of water, then again, the seed will not work. The bowl will not work. Even the bowl is good. The seed is good. But the ground is not ready. Or ground is ready, but there's no water. There's no rain. Then it would not work. Now, is there a bad kind of water? I said a good water. Is there a bad? Yes. Let's say that you take the seed, you put it in the ground, and the ground is good too. But something happens that you get so much rain that it floods. What will happen? The seed will just go away. If you take in the worldly sorrow and just weep and weep and weep, that crying will drown your soul and your bowl. You will lose it. And there is a farman of Sultan Muhammad Shah says, even if you lose your only son, do not cry. If you lose all your hard-earned money, do not cry. Because that kind of crying for the worldly matters is like a flood water, which does not do any good to your heart or to the seed or the Ismi Azam. Let's say you don't have Ismi Azam. All the tasbiyat and all the good deeds that you have done, and you have taken that seed and put it in, that also goes away. For worldly problems, you may cry, because when do you cry? When it's out of balance and you cannot control it, you may cry a little bit, but don't cry like a flood. Because if you do, meaning your 100% focus is on that material lost or whatever that is, and you have forgotten your soul and your bowl and your tasbiyat, and with that all the hope goes away. All the hope goes away and you lose that. So we understand the vegetative soul or the example of the vegetative soul. And we covered the earth, we covered the water, and we covered the seed. So now let's come to the animal soul.
Sunlight? Sunlight?
Yeah, sunlight भी है इसके अंदर. Just remind me in a minute. So because I want to talk about that
Later.
when it comes into the next level with the Rul Qudus.
Okay.
So next soul, the animal soul, how does that work for us? Do we need animal soul? Because our whole life we heard that we should not act like animal. We are human. Don't be like animal. But there is a Sultan Shah's Farman, he says if you don't eat meat, you will become Hindu. So we still need to eat meat, But then in the same format it says maybe once a week or in control portion. Why do we need to eat meat or have to have the animal instinct? We also need that also. Why do we need that? Because the animal instinct or this animal soul is the one that we use when the danger is near. Instinct. So when does human use that? I'm not talking about worldly danger. When shaitan is after you, you need that sixth sense, so you know that shaitan is after you, there is something wrong, and your instinct will come on. If you don't have that, you may lose because shaitan will attack with his whispers and you will not even know. You will not even know. So you need that power or the energy within you to alert you that there is something wrong. So you can watch for it and protect yourself. Also now, when it comes to the nerves, and normally we think of a nerves as our soul, but I'm not talking about the soul. We are talking about three kind of nerves, if there is a better word for it.
So lower mind or lower eye.
Lower eye, I like that. Lower eye. So nafse amara. The amara comes from amar, or the nafs, the one gives you order. This nafse amara is the one that tells you, I want this, I want that. ये जो हमारी want है ना, desires, worldly desire, constant desire, बड़ा घर लेना है, बड़ी गाड़ी लेनी है, बड़ी दुकान करनी है, ज़्यादा business करना है. All the things that you want and want has to do with the need. As a moment, we should know the difference between want and a need. I need this home to live in. There's nothing wrong with having a big home and big car. If the way you occur those things, did you need that car? Yes, good. I need a home to live in? Good. I want bigger home because Parveen has a bigger home, Barkat Bhai has a bigger home. Then I want bigger home? Not good. आपने देखा? Same need, you just turn that into the want. Come for the clothes or the other things. I have to have 100 kurta shalwar because I cannot wear same kurta shalwar, same suit, same tie to Jamaatan every day. I need 365 of them. So I can wear a different one every day. That's the want. I need a suit and tie to go to Jamaatan. There's nothing wrong with that. You see how that works? There's a fine line between want and a need. What is our intention? How do we say it? How do we see it, coming in? How do we think before we buy something? There is nafse amara, the demanding soul within us. A demanding soul. That is the soul that we need to let go. उसको कुर्बान करना होता है, उसको sacrifice करना होता है. As you let that thing go, you will see that it will give a chance for other soul to grow. And why did I bring this one up at this point? If you have nothing but the mineral soul in you, then it's taking 100% of your soul. But what happens in the nature? God gives you vegetative soul. Now you have 50-50. If you didn't have a 50-50 soul, you only would have a mineral soul and you will not be able to grow. So you have a 50-50. Then he gives you animal soul. Now there's a 33%, 33%, 33%. It gave you a chance to have a higher soul. mineral soul, the vegetative soul, and animal soul. Give you higher soul. Nafs Amara, if we only give room to Nafs Amara, had what? 100% of that. The second one is Nafs Lawama. Lawama is a conscious, Englishman.
Guiding.
Huh?
Guiding soul.
Guiding soul. Nafs Lawama, guiding soul. इसको conscious कहते हैं. कभी कभी हम बोलते हैं हमारा conscious है. Meaning we have killed the second soul, not the first one supposed to kill. नफ्स हमारा को मारना था, नफ्स लवामा को चांस देना था. But sometimes what we do, we take this one up and we kill this one. Conscious को ऊपर लाना होता है और नफ्स हमारा को मारना होता है. Just like in other round, mineral soul को कम करना होता है, vegetative soul को कम करना होता है, animal soul को कम करना होता है, so we may receive the next one. Because आपका glass जो है वो full है, 100%. You need to make some room for the next soul to come in. So, if we have the mineral soul, the vegetative soul, animal soul, and then when you receive the rational soul, up to this point, Imam has done his part. He has given you 25, 25, 25 and 25. 4 of them. यहाँ पर हमको नफ्स अमारा and नफ्स लवामा, the ordering soul and the demanding soul and the conscious or the guiding soul आपको दे दी. यहाँ पर इमाम का काम खत्म होता है. ये 2 और यहाँ पर ये 3 और 4 ये 2 ये इमाम ने आपको कंप्लीट कर दिया. The next level is up to you. Even though the next level also is given by Imam, but now because he has made you complete with the rational soul and made you complete with the nafs amara and nafs lawama, he made you complete. Now you have a conscious and you have a rational soul. You see how those 2 matches? He made you complete. Now looks like, and I'm going to just say looks like, you are a complete human. Up to you to use your rational and your conscious to go further up or become an animal. What is the format? Mulabas? That you have 2 ways?
Yeah, you have 2 paths to go. One is, if you were to follow one path, you can become like an animal. The other path, if you were to follow, you'll become human, Firishta, angels. So while he's drinking tea, let me just quickly summarize. So as a human child, when he's born, he would have mineral soul, meaning not moving, just being there, but being alive. Right? Has a frozen soul, have a half sleeping kind of soul. He starts feeding on mother's milk, then he has vegetative soul, meaning he starts growing. He's still not moving much, but he starts growing. And at the same time, after some 2-3 weeks, he gets animal soul. And animal soul, he starts moving and being startled. Instincts comes to and then it takes almost 10 years to have his rational soul be completed, meaning that he's able to distinguish between right and wrong. Till this time, his lower eye. Remember we talked about last night that there's a lower eye and there's a higher eye. Higher eye is an imam and lower eye we are. So when a child is born, I want milk, I want toy. It's all about wanting. So the way he said, it's like 100% nafs ammara. So nafs ammara, in other words, we call it nafs, or in Gyanan terms, peers have said that man to maha badvant kahiye. Like man is like a huge anaconda who always want things. At a child level, it is very normal to want, because if you don't want, how would you grow? So you need to have want. But by the time when you have the rational soul, you are able to distinguish. Why? Because you have this nafs lawama. In the language of Quran, nafs amara, nafs lawama is from Quran. It guides you. That okay, I want to eat this. But it's a class, I'm sitting in a school, I can't eat it, I have to wait. Or I'm in Jamaat Khana, I have to wait Jamaat Khana to finish, then to eat. But I want this. No, but I learn to control. This is not the right time. That's the rational soul. Or nafse lawama, the guiding soul. So
repeat the Farman one more time.
So the Farman is, Sultan Mahmud Shah says that it is up to you, every human has two paths. One, if you were to take, you can become an animal. Other one, if you were to take, you can become an angel. So as a human being, when we get to nafse lawama, conscious souls, if we keep listening to the conscious soul, meaning that we are able to identify, this is my mineral soul, not wanting me to get up out of the bed, go to Jamaat Khana, I just want to lay there like a rock, I don't want to move. It is my, vegetative soul which wants me to just constantly eat. At my age, I'm not going to grow anymore. So there's a time
unless you grow like this.
Yeah, grow like this. Yes, you're right. You grow like this. So I can grow, right? So I need to stop, I need to understand how much do I need. Then only I can take vegetative soul. And then the animal soul also gives you, like for example, let's take an example of a dog. In terms of Farman's language, Maula says that, if you were to think that the purpose of your coming to this world is to go run after the money or run after the food or have a woman and have children, a dog does do that. So what's the difference in you and a dog, an animal? Whenever dogs get angry, they bark. So if you're a Momin, if you get angry, then Mullah says that a Momin touches his mouth with true knowledge. That's how in essence I'm saying, I don't remember the exact word, but Mullah says that being a Momin, you will not get angry, you will not bark because you are angry. You will tie your mouth with a name of Mullah, right?
Knowledge.
True knowledge. So that what Mullah is saying, that if you were to be like animal, if you were to only have animal soul, I will not control my anger, because anger comes from animal soul. But as a human, rational soul teaches me it's not time. So you learn to control, you identify. A child who starts growing, he learns that this is not the right thing to do. So as a human, when you make mistake, you say, you can do Giryazari, ask for forgiveness from Allah, and you learn that you do not need to do that, So at that time, what you are doing, your animal soul has become into rational soul. So at the level of the nafs, the lowest eye is nafs amara, want. It's now becoming into, you're listening to the nafs lawama, meaning the conscious soul, the guiding soul, the soul which makes you distinguish that this act will make me go down. And Imam says, if you were to understand, and with the rational soul comes the free will, the ability to distinguish, do I drink this? Do I make a choice of drinking this? Or do I not choose to drink that? So choice with the free will. Do I wake up and sit in the ilmi class, or I keep resting? It's Sunday morning, I want to rest, right? So that distinction comes from the rational soul. The more you listen to your rational souls, Mola says, then you walk on the path of becoming an angel. So as a human being, as having this body and having this life, I have two choices. Become an animal, going down, become an angel.
So here, I said between the rational soul and the Ruh Qudus, there is one thing that we normally don't see, that is the justifying. So with the rational soul, we say, okay, we rationalize. Once you finish rationalizing, now you have to justify it. That justification part, that is your intellect. That is your intellect. Now we are not talking about soul anymore. Now we are talking about the intellect. So you rationalize something, and then you do one thing normally that you don't know it or you don't feel it, and that is justifying it. Once you justify that this is the right thing to do, then you're doing it. If your rational soul is not working correctly, what are you going to do? Your justification never kicks in. That part never kicks in. And you keep doing wrong or right without justifying it. and you just keep doing it. So that's why when you see someone who's doing wrong thing, they just keep doing it because they are not able to justify it. So from this point onward, it's up to a human to say that I wanted to be an animal or I wanted to go further than where I am today. So, and we have so many of those Farman in which Mullah says that look at Pir Sadruddin. He was human just like you and me. He also had 2 hands and 2 feet, 2 eyes. He walked and talked and ate just like you. But look at where he reached. If you do your ibadat and if you follow me, meaning Imam, then you can become like Pir Sadruddin, you can become like Isa, you can become like a Farishte, or you can even go further. You see how from this point on it's up to you now. And last night we were giving you a reference of Surah Muhammad. Oh, you help me so I can help you. This principle applies at this point. Before then, it does not apply. From this point onward, it applies. Because how can you help Allah? He does not need your help. Allah is Samad. He's free from everything that you have to offer. He does not need anything from you. But He says, you help me, I'll help you. Even in this help that you think you are giving is an example of a child going to school and parents said, if you go to school or help me go to school and I will help you learn something. So child has to be and willing to go to school. Because you see children, some go to school, they don't learn anything. They go to school but they don't learn anything. Meaning they are not helping themselves by learning. So you help me, I'll help you. And that's what Imam says. You come to Jamaat Thanai, you help me. Come to Jamaat Thanai. I will help you progress. But first step has to be your, and I think what she said, that from here, with the rational soul and with the nafs lawama comes the free will. Before that, हमारा free will भी नहीं थी. We thought we had a free will. Again, same example of a child. They have some limited free will. They can run around, they can play, but then, hey, it's a dinner time. No free will. They have to eat. It's a sleeping time. No free will. They have to sleep. School time. They have to go to school. No free will. You see, even though they have a free will, but they don't have a free will. Look at the prisoner in the jail. They have a free will. Once they are in a cell, they can sleep or they not sleep. This is their free will. But they have to be in their cell. Free will is taken. When they have those 2 hours of the ground time, they can go out and play, or they can sit on a bench. Free will. But they cannot leave their ground. No free will.
Or stay in a cell.
Or stay in a cell. So, the free will is taken. But you always have the limited free will. As a human, especially as an Ismaili, Imam has given us a lot of free will to be angels or not to be angel, or become animal or not to become animal. Imam has given us the free will. And but he would not just give us free will unless he had given us the rational soul and nafs lawama. He had given us the tools first before he given us the free will. Free will se pehle tools diye humko. So we can rationalize, should I want to use my free will at this point or not? You have to rationalize it. Once you rationalize it, you have to justify it. And then you use your free will. Alright. So she had brought up this son. In the growing of a tree, there was one more function which I left out intentionally. For the tree, the sun is also needed. Just like that, for a human, the guidance of the Imam is needed. And the Imam is an example of a sun. जो सूरज चमकता है ऊपर, so what do we get from sun? The heat and the light, which is required for a tree to grow. What happens when earth moves its face away from the sun? The winter comes. And what happens to tree? They die. Alright. So let's say we are that tree. We have taken the seed. We have good soil. We have put some water in it.
Knowledge.
The knowledge. What we are lacking now?
Sunlight.
Is the sunlight and the heat. And that comes from the ibadat, bandagi, the love of the Imam. So let's say we have all this, but we have no ibadat, bandagi. We have no love for the Imam. How can the Ismaili say, I have no love for the Imam? Not by this tongue, they don't say, I don't have a love for Imam. With their action, they show they don't have a love for Imam. What is their action? Paisa, paisa, paisa. Dunya, dunya, dunya. They don't have to tell you, I have no love for the Imam. They're just running the other way. Their action is telling you they have no love for the Imam. Because if you have the love for the Imam, where would you be running? Toward the Imam. You see that? So that this is the love of the Imam that brings you that heat and the light. And with that heat and the light, tree can grow. And the spring will come on your heart. The light will come in your heart. The love brings the light and the heat of the sun, which is the example of an Imam. And without that, we cannot go forward. We cannot move forward after. So up to this point, not only you have rational soul and nafs lawama, the conscience, but you also had your soul perfectly lined, you had the water and you had the seed. Isme Azam. But you still need that one thing which comes from the next level, and that is all up to you now. It's all up to you. You can take that or you can turn your face away from it. And we see that every day, right? We don't need to go too far off. We see that there are some who's only running behind the dunya. Even though they say we love Mullah, but their action is not saying. Their tongue is saying. With the tongue they say, oh, we love Mullah, but their action is the other way. That's why Mullah has given us the example of Pir Sadaruddin. He would do 16 hours of ibadat. आप बोलेंगे भाई ये तो मेरे लिए पॉसिबल ही नहीं है, 8 घंटे काम करता हूँ, 8 घंटे सोता हूँ, तो 16 आवर्स है ही नहीं मेरे पास. फिर मेरे को शावर भी लेना होता है, मेरे को खाना भी होता है. How can I do 16 hours ibadat? And Imam has given us easier choice of doing not 16 hours. Imam is being generous to us actually. We're saying 16 hours. If you want, you can do 24 hours ibadat. Because when Imam says ibadat and when we say ibadat, usme both farak hai. For us, ibadat is that 1 hour 4 to 5. When say Imam says you can do 16 hour ibadat, is by your action. When you earn your money honestly, for the good purpose and intention, that 8 hour of work is your ibadat. Imam says, if you take my name, do your tasbih before you sleep, your sleep is your ibadat. Ye the 16 hour ho gaya idhar hi. What about the other 3 hours that we go to Jamaat Khana and do ibadat? 3 hours to aap jate hi hai Jamaat Khana. So that's 19 hours now. Can you not remember Mola while you're eating and taking shower and doing whatever else you're doing? You could do that, right? There comes 20 hours. Do you see how you can count every single minute of the day and you can count all 24 hours in ibadat. Intention and thought, action is up to you. You can take the same action and turn it into not ibadat by saying, hey, I want to make all the money so I can become rich, so I can have a bigger home, a bigger car. And the 8-hour ibadat, you just ruined it. You just lost the 8-hour ibadat. Before sleep, you didn't do your tasbih. You just lost that 8 hours.